Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show whose Star Wars rankings go Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Solo, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace. That's right. The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi never happened. Seriously, Caravan of Courage and the Star Wars Holiday Special were more Star Wars films than The Last Jedi will ever be. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Carthage from SAS Creative. In Carthage, from SAS Creative, 2 to 5 players take on the roles of Roman gladiators in the great arena that was ancient Rome. Now, this game combines kind of miniatures, tactical combat with a deck building system. So the first thing players are going to do is essentially choose which gladiator they're going to be. So they take a colored player board as well as a colored figure. The figure itself isn't colored, but its base is color-coded to whatever player board you took. You're also going to take a number of starter cards. You get kind of a starting deck, and then you also put a couple of markers which track your armor rating as well as your glory points. Now what's going to happen is you draw 5 cards, and the cards let you do different things. There's different icons on the cards. For instance, you can move. It'll tell you, if you play a card, it'll say how many spots you can move. There is a kind of a green armor rating, which essentially says you can increase your armor. There is attack, which, of course, is the kind of red blood splatter, which allows you to deal damage to an enemy. And there is the glory points, which allow you, of course, to gain glory, which is going to be a currency during the game. There's also kind of bonus actions, so like you can do something and you get something else only if the bonus occurred. So you can deal damage to somebody, and then maybe you get glory points. That sort of a thing is going on as well. The game itself takes place in a series of phases. Now, the first phase is the theater phase. So essentially what's going to happen is you draw a theater card. Now, a theater card is kind of like an event card. It's going to essentially set the stage for the arena for that round. You're going to find out exactly, what parts of the arenas are going to work, what parts are off limits, what maybe there's some special condition you can't do certain attacks or gain certain things that round. There's all sorts of weird and kooky different theater rules that'll pop up that makes each round different. Next, you have the action phase. Now, this is where you play the cards in order to move and do combat and gain glory points. But here's the thing. Unlike other deck builders where you lay down your cards, you add everything together, and you do it, here you only play one card at a time. So first player plays a card, then clockwise plays a card, clockwise, till it gets back to you. So you just play one card at a time, and you do as much of that card as you can. Again, you move, you attack, you gain glory points, you build up armor. There's even some things that can, give you a real, powerful attack, but maybe it costs you armor points. So there's all sorts of things that are going on when you play these cards. But you go around, and you're moving around the board, fighting each other, trying to take each other down. But here's the thing. On the board are various tokens. Now, you can play scenarios where tell you where tokens go, and these various tokens are face up. And the tokens, if you just stand on them or move over them, they give you an attack ability, or they give you a movement ability, or they give you armor points, or they give you glory points. But once you go on them, they flip upside down. They can only be used once per round. They'll flip over again during the next theater turn. So after you go around and everybody has played all of their 5 cards for that round, then you move into the last phase of the game. The last phase is the favor phase, or the glory phase. And what you do here is you spend that glory, that favor that you have earned by playing the cards during the action phase, you spend that on new cards. Now you have a number of cards. I think 5 cards are visible out of kind of the main deck, and you can choose to buy them as you want. But you can only buy one at a time, and then it goes around. If you pass, and like a card comes out later you can afford, you can't take it, you have to just move on because you've already passed. But as long as you can afford to buy cards, you can keep buying them, provided it goes all the way around, because you're only buying one per turn. So you're going around and around. You are setting the stage during that theater phase. You are fighting, you're moving, you're gaining glory and armor during the action phase. And then during the last phase, you are buying cards. And you keep going around and around like this. And your goal is to, of course, knock your opponents down to 0 armor. Once you knock them down to 0 armor, they are eliminated from the game. You keep going around and around. And whoever is the last person standing wins Carthage. So Carthage is a very unusual game in a lot of respects. First thing you may notice is that idea of player elimination. And yes, there is player elimination in this game. But there is an optional rule where you can essentially come back as beasts and still keep fighting, so there's that as well. But generally speaking, this is a game with player elimination, so you should be aware of that as well. But the game is very interesting in its use of the deck building mechanic. Like I say, you don't play all your cards on your turn, you just play one card at a time. So it's a question of selecting which card's going to work for you. But the cards may not, like any deck builder, the cards may not do what you need them to do. They may not work for you the way you need them to work for you. So you're playing the cards, and you may really say, I need more cards, so you want to play all those favor points, in which case you want to kind of just stay away from the other gladiators. But then there's times where you just want to knock somebody down, and you're trying to move to them and take them out. So there's this again, how do you make the cards work for you and get them to do what you want them to do? In one sense, it's very limiting, as it is with all deck builders, but at the same time, it lends itself well to the idea of tough choices, right? How do I make the best of the hand I've got? Which is kind of a metaphor for life. But here it's a game, and it's an interesting use of the deck builder mechanic, as I say. I like the minis. I like the production. I will say the colors chosen, this kind of brown with kind of the red highlights, kind of like the 300 art style. I like the 300 art style quite a bit, but the color scheme is a little dull. I wish they would have had a little more color in it. I would have appreciated, but that might have conflicted with what they were going with for the 300 style. Still, minor thing. Generally, it's a very good production. Cards are good. Board's functional. There's not a lot to it, but it works. I should point out too, there's other things you can do, other actions you can take during the buy phase. You can buy actions. You can go to the theater deck and go to the discard pile and put one on top, or you can use the board to discard cards too. So there's other actions you can take there as well during the buy phase. So there's a lot of good choices in the game. Oh, the first player token. You could steal the first player token from another player, which can be very important as well. So as I say, there's a lot of good stuff here. I like the combat. It's fun. It's intense. My friends and I had a lot of fun with it. But there's one issue with the game, and the game kind of reminded me a little bit of Star Wars X-Wing. I loved Star Wars X-Wing. Star Wars X-Wing was fantastic, but there was oftentimes that problem with Star Wars X-Wing where you would get down to just a couple of ships, and the game was chasing the other guy, and you were always trying to get around the other guy, get into a good firing position without exposing yourself to your opponent's firing position. And so it just kind of leads to this end game kind of chase thing. And you get a little bit of that here in Carthage as well. When it gets down to the last two, it kind of loses a little bit of steam. Now, it's still interesting, it's still fun, but I wish there was a way you could raise the stakes at the end. Maybe more powerful cards. Maybe you automatically start getting ranged weapons or something like that. Just something to, I don't know, to find a way to kind of hasten that end game. That's a. I won't say it's a minor complaint because I think it is significant. But having said it, still, I think there's enough in this game that it can kind of overcome that. And once you play it enough, you can maybe find ways to mitigate that. So generally what I'm saying is I like Carthage. I thought it was a fun game. It's a great new use of a deck builder. At least I haven't seen deck building used quite like this before, and I like the tactical combat aspect of it as well. So the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Carthage is try it before you buy it because of that end game stuff going on. But I'm going to give it a very, very positive try it before you buy it. I think people who try this game will be interested in picking it up. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and Kylo Ren, more like Kylo ran out of the theater because it was that bad.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Hey John, Allie, sorry I couldn't be there on your special day, but of course I'm here in Texas. Hey, I'm just sitting here at my piano, and I wrote a little song for you guys. I'm not going to sing it because it's not very good, but I just wanted to say I'm proud of both of you, happy marriage, and long life. And now my son Margaret has something he wants to say to you. Look in the camera, Margaret. Look.
Thank you for ruining my daddy's life.